I did my placement year in a company called Suez, and it's a global water and waste company. And in the UK, it's more focused on recycling and reuse. So my role was an environmental and industrial risk coordinator intern, and this was a full year of full-time work. I knew I wanted to do a placement year from my first year of starting uni, is why I picked the course I did, so I knew I had the option to. So in second year, I kept an eye out and I went to any events could go to, and I kept my CV up to date, things like that. But I actually managed to secure a speculative application. So this meant it was a bit different to everyone else's experience. So a speculative application is when you apply to a company who's not currently offering a job role, like an undergrad placement, and you get in contact and politely ask if they would consider taking you on, etc., like things like that. So I managed to have a contact into Suez, and I knew I did my research. I knew I did want to be in that sort of environmental sector, and I managed to get in a contact with the head of the environmental and industrial risk department. And after a few discussions over email, I managed to send her my CV, and then I sent her a presentation, more or less persuading her to take me on, including things like what could I bring to them, what could they gain from me, what my course was about, things like that, just bridging the gap. And after a final interview on Teams, I managed to get an offer for the job. This was in the February of my second year, so I managed to have a bit of time before I started. I was paid a full intern wage over the whole year, so considering I was an unbudgeted cost expected by the department, it was really nice to know that they were happy to pay me and they actually ran through it with me to make sure I was okay. It tied perfectly to my studies through climate change focus and environmental sustainability, things like that, really focused on. And because I was a speculative application, I was managed to do a work plan with my line manager, like tailor it to what we both wanted, what she wanted me to include, but also what I could get out of it from my course. So it was really nice to have them tailor it as well. In the EIR department I worked in, I was split on 6 months between two of the four teams. So first 6 months I worked in the EIR supports. This was including policy work, reviewing site visits for the permits, things like that, risk assessments, climate change risk assessments. And then the final 6 months I was in the hydrogeology team. So this was including more physical geography like GIS work, site visits for landfills, doing physical things like dip testing the actual landfills, getting hands-on work. And yeah, overall I managed to do a lot of things, including I did a huge analysis on a landfill that hadn't been dug up yet, and we had no idea what was down there, and I managed to do an assessment report on a conceptual site model. So that was really interesting, a really good job. I managed to include both human and physical in it. I also managed to do a risk analysis document for a fake crisis scenario, where if a climate change scenario was to happen, what would happen to the company. So I got to use my university knowledge in that, which was really useful. I got to work on a lot of my computer-based skills, so Excel work and GIS mapping, something as a human geography student didn't get the most experience on during university. As well as this, I got to do online courses on different parts of the waste industry, which again I'd never touched before. As well as this, I got to do site visits. I got to go visit different types of waste management sites, such as landfills, energy from waste, like incineration plants, things like that. As well as doing a different style of writing, so more report writing and reviewing things rather than a structured essay. Found it really useful. The placement year really highlighted my strengths and weaknesses, and I really found that useful for assessing future jobs and my CV and things like that, because in university you're not necessarily forced to reflect on your own skills and your own limits. But with the university assignments over the year, so social sciences had three, we had to reflect on our skills we had, what we were working on, how these would help coming back, and things like that. And it really helped being in department in a commercial environment, a massive business, seeing how things worked, and it was just so different to a university assignment. For example, like work pressures and deadlines, you're not just affecting yourself, you were affecting the whole team, whereas a university essay, it's only affecting your grade. So it was really good to see how everything worked, and even getting involved in some other companies and teams and departments. My main piece of advice would to be stay organised, stay on top of your CV, updating, get on LinkedIn, and just really put some time aside to research. And but most importantly, I'd say have faith in yourself and back yourself. So speculative application can feel quite daunting, putting yourself out there, but you never know what you'll get in return. But to do this, sometimes you have to look around you and what resources you have. You might know someone, you might know someone who knows someone, and you never know where it can lead you. Take everything as a lesson in your placement year. Often students go in and try to separate university and placement, but I found I could use my university knowledge in the work tasks, and it's the same vice versa. And even if you're learning something and you don't like it, or you figured out something you're not good at, that's still something you've learned and you can use going forward. So some of the challenges I experienced over the year mainly surrounded workload and balancing work-life balance. As it was so different to university, it was a 9 to 5 for me, and I was supposed to switch off at 5 p.m. and start at 9 a.m. Something that's not necessarily drilled into you at university. So it was really good to learn that, but also when you are doing your university assignments that you get from placement, alongside the actual work tasks, it can be a bit overwhelming. But I found with my placement, it was really useful to just be honest with my line manager and tell her I had a university assignment as well. And as long as communication's there and everything's clear, I don't see why it would get in the way. You're allowed to move your deadlines around a bit, like they will understand.